But you see how much kidnappers are picking for victims.
My thing is, government will always stabilize this. Get that, and I think we get that. The 3% for the oil producing community is too low.
So the support that is needed, and what you get to support your airline people will blossom.
This is Nigeria. You need to give people sense of belonging.
Good morning and welcome to the Monday, May 9, 2022 edition of Inside Nigeria on Leadership Television. My name is Winifred Ubebo and I'm your host on today's program. Fortunately, I'm alone in the studio. I don't have a public affairs analyst with me to review the papers. But nevertheless, we'll be taking some of the headline stories and other stories on the cover of some selected newspapers that we are reviewing today. Welcome once again. As usual, we have 4 papers for review this morning. That is Nigeria's most influential leadership, sister publication National Economy, THISDAY newspaper, and Blueprint. We're flagging off with leadership. Leadership has main cover story this Monday ahead of party primaries. CSOs kick against aspirants' use of state resources for campaign. Ahead of party primaries, CSOs, that is civil society organizations, kick against aspirants' use of state resources for campaign. The story is on page 4, but nevertheless, the story has riders, so many riders underneath it. Let's see. Northern groups decry hijack of political space by same actors. We don't want government of continuity, ACF. Beware of aspirants with empty promises. Afenifere tells Nigerians. Amechi, Saraki, Peter Obi intensify campaign for party tickets. The story is on page 4 of leadership. But still on the cover of leadership, we have other stories. Sustain your role in Nigeria's stability. Tinubu tells leadership. Ahead of the main cover story is a story on Tinubu. It says, sustain your role in Nigeria's stability, unity. Tinubu urges leadership. The story is on page 7 of the paper. And on the right-hand side of the paper, ASU ends warning strike to decide next line of action. ASU ends warning strike to decide next line of action. Let's see snippets of the main story on page 4. CSOs kick against aspirants' use of state resources for campaign. The story ahead of the 2023 presidential election, civil society organizations, CSOs, yesterday warned against the use of state resources for campaigns and other political party activities by aspirants who are public office holders. The CSOs comprising Transparency International, TI, Transition Monitoring Group, TMG, and the Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC, also posited that Nigerians are losing confidence in the country because of poor leadership and asked aspirants to give prime place to the observance of the rule of law, insecurity, and poverty in their electoral blueprint. Meanwhile, Afenifere has told Nigerians to beware of aspirants with empty promises. On his part, commenting on the governance agenda of the presidential aspirants, the leader of the Yoruba socio-political organization, Afenifere, Chief Ayo Adebanjo, said many of the promises from the aspirants are mere political contrivance to deceive the masses. He said, we are just living in denial. All those promises they are making are to deceive the masses. Is the country stable for any development? Are you sure if you go to the police station, you won't have a bullet behind you? That is Ayo Adebanjo, Afenifere leader. That is snippets of the story on the headline story on leadership This Monday, CSOs kick against aspirant use of state resources for campaign. That is on Leadership newspaper. From Leadership, let's move over to This Day. This Monday, May 9th, 2022, This Day has its main cover story: 2023 African leaders pressure Buhari for AFDB President additional. 2023 African leaders pressure Buhari for African Development Bank President additional. In apparent double standard, activist Akeredolu PDP Tambuwa Ezekwesili orders keep mum as additional face to resign after his closest purchase funds for him. Action Alliance Group fought calls for Emefiele's sack. Insists CBN governor has not breached any law. The story is on page 5 of This Day newspaper. 2023 African leaders pressure Buhari for AFDB president additional. In apparent double standard, activist Akeredolu, governor of Ondo State, PDP Tambuwa, governor of Sokoto State, Ezekwesili orders keep mum as additional face to resign after his closes purchase funds for him. Action Alliance Group fought calls for Emefiele's sack. Insists CBN governor has not breached any law. Up on that This Day newspaper, we have other stories. Yakasai APC duty bound to ensure power shifts to south. Yakasai APC duty bound to ensure power shifts to south. Still above the masthead of leadership of This Day, let's see the masthead of This Day. Above the masthead of This Day newspaper, oil marketers raise the alarm, accuse airline operators of trying to force subsidy on aviation fuel. Oil marketers raise the alarm, accuse airline operators of trying to force subsidy on aviation fuel. Wonder why only local airlines are complaining about rising ATK price scarcity. Wonder why only local airlines are complaining about rising ATK price scarcity. AON holds plan to suspend flight operations. That is on This Day. And still in This Day, just beneath the masthead, we have a story. In broad daylight, terrorists kill 63 in Zamfara communities. Buhari directs military to sustain offensive against criminals. In broad daylight, terrorists kill 63 in Zamfara communities. Buhari directs military to sustain offensive against criminals. All these are on This Day this morning, and still on This Day says long few queues return. Long few queues return in Abuja environs. Let's go. Still on This Day newspaper, we have a story on Peter Obi, PDP presidential aspirant. He's on a presidential interview series This Day has been carrying out. You can scroll down, let's see what This Day is saying. Presidential interview series for Obi, why Nigeria is qualified as failed state. These stories are more on This Day newspaper. For more on the stories, you can get a copy of the paper or go to their website. From This Day newspaper, let's move over to the blueprint. Blueprint Monday, May 9, 2022. With 3 weeks to June 3 INEC deadline, APC PDP undecided over zoning of presidential tickets. With 3 weeks to June 3 INEC deadline, APC PDP undecided over zoning of presidential tickets. Zone to South lose 2023 election. AP presidential aspirant Akali test party. No Southerner will support Northern candidates. Edwin Clark. Major parties setting the stage for chaos. SNDC Chair Chukwani. No timeline to discuss zoning, party to take decision at the right time, APC. We will produce the most acceptable candidate to Nigerians, say PDP. APC, PDP undecided on zoning of presidential tickets. Zone to South lose 2023 election, APC presidential aspirant Akali, third party. No Southerner will support Northern candidates, according to Edwin Clark. Major parties setting the stage for chaos, SNDC chair Tukwani. No timeline to discuss zoning, party to take decision at the right time, APC. We will produce the most acceptable candidate to Nigerians, PDP. And still on Blueprint newspaper, editors to meet in Port Harcourt on self-scrutiny, democratic culture. Editors meet in Port Harcourt. Blueprint has other stories on its cover this Monday. Underneath Blueprint newspaper, we have stories on rising crude oil prices to worsen inflation, IMF warns. Rising crude oil prices to worsen inflation, IMF warns. Page 24 of Blueprint says, despite underperformance, OPEC increases Nigeria's production quota. Despite underperformance, OPEC increases Nigeria's production quota. Page 15 of Blueprint says, I won't join presidential race, INEC chair. I won't join presidential race, says INEC chair. And still on Blueprint, SABN founder Arthur Inzeribe dies at 83. Page 25 of Blueprint, manufacturers face crisis as Russia-Ukraine war rages. Manufacturers face crisis as Russia-Ukraine war rages. The federal government approves 3 billion naira Sukuk bond for Numan Jalingo Road. All the stories are on the cover of Blueprint newspaper this Monday, May 9th, 2022. Let's move over to the last paper we have on our menu, and that is our sister publication, National Economy. National Economy says mass exodus of Nigerians reveals deep economic crisis, according to experts. Mass exodus of Nigerians reveals deep economic crisis, experts say. The mass exodus of Nigerians in search of greener pastures is a telltale sign of economic crisis in the future, National Economy observes. This is in part a consequence of the increasing number of conflicts in Nigeria, which may have long-term negative economic impact on the country with dire implications for development. The unseen trend of losing the most qualified technocrats to politically and economically stable climes may be ongoing in Nigeria, which could render Nigeria a developmental laggard in the coming decades. According to a report by the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations, this trend is considered a problem because the most highly skilled and competent individuals leave the country and contribute their expertise to the economy of other countries. For more on this story, get a copy of National Economy or log into the website to read more on the stories they have on today's publication. Well, that's all we can take. So much we can take today on Inside Nigeria. Fortunately, we didn't have a public affairs analyst to discuss some of the major headlines, but tomorrow, hopefully, we'll have one in the studio. Don't forget to keep a date with us, same time, same station tomorrow. I remain Winifred Weber. See you. Bye.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.